Yo, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Prison to Promise podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Craig Waleed. I need you to know that this podcast is a space where we have honest conversations about incarceration, transformation, and what it truly takes for people to rebuild their lives after prison. Today's guest is the good sister Shaheedah Ross. She's a community leader and advocate from Charlotte, North Carolina, who is doing important work creating opportunities and pathways for justice impacted individuals. Shaheedah brings both lived experience and leadership to the conversation, and she's someone who understands what it means to turn adversity into purpose. So, yo, sit back, listen in, and join us for this important conversation here on the Prison to Promise podcast. Let's go. Hello, dear sister Shaheedah.
Good morning. How are you?
I am well. I am well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for asking.
Good. It's always good to see you, sister.
Thank you. Thank you.
How have you been? I haven't seen or talked to you in a long time.
So this is the month I'm taking a step back.
Hmm.
It'll be a year since my son completed suicide tomorrow, so I haven't really had I'm not gonna say I haven't had time, I haven't taken time for
Uh-huh.
myself, just trying to keep busy so
Yeah.
I don't fall into that hole. But with that, all of the other like psychological, physiological things have like invaded in my space.
Hmm.
So, in order to take care of myself, it's important for me to take this month off. So
Yeah.
that's what I'll be doing.
Wow.
Yeah.
You opened up with something really heavy, and that is the loss of your son. You know, you don't look like what you've been through, you know.
Right.
And so I just want to say thank you for sharing that with me and the listeners here who will be listening to our conversation on the Prison of Promise podcast. And though you and I know each other and we just jumped right into conversation,
Well,
yeah, if we could just
I
back up.
kind of forgot about the listener part.
Yeah, me too. 'Cause
Sorry
like, oh,
about
my
that.
sister. But folks want to know, like, who is this sister? Like, why is
Yeah.
she so happy to be talking with her? Maybe you can introduce yourself and just a little more.
Okay. So I guess I just want to introduce myself as a person. I think we get into the habit of introducing ourselves as our careers or something like that. But I'm just a person who I believe in transformation
Mhm.
um and getting past the idea that we're the who we are is the product of the worst decisions we've made or the
Mm.
things that have been done to us.
Mhm.
I myself, I am just as impacted, having served 17 years in the North Carolina state prisons. Um, raised children from there. I'm an advocate, been an advocate for life. Like even before prison, I've always been that person that when I see something, I say something, and sometimes it's a little forcefully.
That could get you in trouble sometime too.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, so I'm an advocate, workforce development director here in Charlotte for City Startup Labs. Author, have a series of books, which two have come out um recently and will launch in early April. Really about navigating for those who are navigating a long-term prison sentence. Because we always say, reentry starts from the day that you enter in, but um, are the states or the feds doing that work? No, it's really up to the individual, right? So just trying to provide people a guide who don't know, right? This is how you go in and this is how you do your time.
So what's the
Um,
name of your book before we go ahead?
so the series is called the Blueprint series. The first book is called The First 48, and the second book is called Love from the Inside.
Mm,
So the first 48 is centered around your first 48 days in prison, those weeks, how to center yourself and maintain healthy boundaries, being able to overcome that disorientation of the reality that you're no longer in society and this is your reality, but knowing that you don't have to lose, number one, who you are intricately, but also thinking about your future because no matter what your length is, you still have a future, right? You
that's right.
still have a life to live. There's still a way to show up. There's still a way to hold on to dignity because prison is set up to strip us of our dignity, right?
Yes, yes.
But there are things that you can do um, to maintain or even build those things. And then love from the inside is basically raising your children or parenting from the inside and how to navigate those co-parenting situations or even out of home placement situations, how to stay honest with your children without overwhelming them with the truth of adulthood until it's time, right? So um, the books will follow along those frames, and then the other 3 will follow, navigating authority in prison, those different dynamics of the authority personalities and roles in incarceration, how to, um, address and maintain your mental health and well-being by using the tools that are available to you in the carceral system, and then the last book will be, homecoming. So the actual reentry, again, maintaining your boundaries, maintaining the identity that you have worked on throughout the years, and how to apply that to a world that you may be unfamiliar with.
Yeah, stepping back out of prison into the
Mhm.
community. Yeah, world is definitely unfamiliar.
Yes.
Where can people find your books?
Okay, so right now, well, they'll always be available at payhip.com/blueprint royal.
Mhm.
And then they will, after the book launch, which is actually April 4th at the Allegra Westbrook's library here in Charlotte, they'll be available on Amazon as well.
Okay, dope. And so we'll shout that out. Absolutely. We'll
Okay.
put that in the show description, but anyone that listens to this show will also know where to find your books. And since we're talking about where to find your books, where can people find you?
Oh, well, I am in Charlotte, and you can always reach out to me at 980-287-5474,
Mm,
or the best way is email, because I'm always in email at ross at
mm.
goodportions22.com.
Dig it. Right on. And that's something we normally do like at the end when we're wrapping up, but
Okay,
this is just
okay,
organically flowing. And so this came up. So I thought it was important to give that a plug. Um,
okay.
but you mentioned, sis, you did 17 years behind the wall. I'm thinking, like everyone who's living a different life now, what was like maybe or was there a specific moment inside prison or maybe after you got released when you realized um that your life was shifting from incarceration to building purpose?
So I have to be honest, my mindset shifted, I would say, after my 3rd year. Um, so my 1st year, I made a plan in my 1st year, a 10-year plan in my 1st year. I don't lose well, so even being incarcerated and with a sentence like that, it's always something in me. It's just like no one's going to put me in a position where they want me to feel less than or unimportant or not valuable. So I'm always going to create value. And that's what I did in my first year. I learned about all the programs that were available to me, um, whether it had to do with keeping my family intact or education, different vocational programs. And I made a plan that I would take every opportunity um, and include that in my life while I was incarcerated. I did have hope to come home. I said, year 3, that was the shift
Mm.
because I knew that my sentence was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. I was incarcerated and received that sentence for what was it? Obtaining property by false pretense, about $560 of children clothes and groceries. Right? Yes, I had 3 felonies before that, but they were again property related. So nonviolent, no drugs, no
Right.
sex, so I always had hope that I would come home, but after year 3, it was very clear that I was not. Not only just having that 10-year plan, but really buckling down and understanding that I had to take some responsibility for my being there
Mm.
regardless of how, excessive my sentence was.
Yeah.
I still had operated in ways that set me up to be there, right?
Mhm.
Um, so year 3 was that shift of, "Let me do this time, but also let me get out of my own way, of othering myself. Oh, I don't belong here. Other people, belong here." I had to realize that I had experienced some traumas in life
Mm.
that dictated my responses and behaviors before I came to prison. And until I was ready to accept that I was not okay with those things, because even now in this space, I operate tragedy done hit me, but I'm still going. It don't matter because 'cause I'm strong. Nah, I was weak because my behaviors show that, right? Like now I could say I'm not that same person because I've experienced tragedies and my reactions or responses could be destructive, but they are not. And those that are, like not paying attention to my physical health and things like that, I can recognize those things and then go down a different path. Before I came to prison, I didn't have that knowledge, right? So I really worked my entire sentence using the mental health therapist, books, just really trying to understand how my trauma affected my trajectory to
Mm.
get where I was going.
Yeah. Man, sis, you dropped some really heavy stuff and you closed it really tough too. Understanding how my trauma impacted the trajectory of my life's path. And then you also talked about taking accountability, recognizing that you were responsible in some part for where you are. Like, how did you get to that point where you're like, okay, I gotta be accountable. Okay, I can't other myself anymore. I have to take responsibility. Like, what happened? Like, how did you get to that point and saw yourself as the hero and not the victim anymore?
Really being in a space where other women were sharing their stories with me. So, again, I've always been who I am. But before prison, because I was part of the society where, you know, I wasn't gonna have friends that was on drugs. I was a dare kid, it's crack is whack, school is cool. I was a nerd my whole life. So there was and even the way my family was and is, right? There were just a certain uh community or population that you automatically cast judgment on, right? There was no understanding of what people's traumas were and how they reacted. But being in prison, surrounded by hundreds, if not thousands, or over 17 years, right? Of women from different backgrounds, and we can all say, I think a big misconception is that everybody is in prison, has this dark and dirty background and they should be there. And that's not it. Like we're just human, right? Just women. And no matter where you stood in the socioeconomic uh feed in life, something brought you there, right? So for me, being the person that I am and people being just willingly just speak to me about, what life is for them, I was able to see those different stories and hear them and really turn them over in my mind while witnessing um behaviors. And I'm an analytical person, so I think a lot. I'm always in my head. So that really gave me an opportunity to see I was just like them. I may not have turned to alcohol. I may not have turned to drugs, but my behaviors turned to other things. So that made us the same, right? We ended up at the same address, right?
Right.
So there was there was something we had in common. So being able to identify, um, with other traumas,
Mm,
and how we handle those things. The knowledge, if you don't have the knowledge, you don't know until you know, right?
right.
So being able to be in that space is really what opened my eyes, made me stop saying, I'm a other,
Mm,
or the system did this to me, to, okay, let me take accountability and responsibility. I'm here because of me, but also let me stop holding myself above everyone else because we're in this together,
yeah,
right?
yeah. And you opened up by saying, "Hey, I'm just a person. That's
Mhm,
me. I'm not better. I'm not less than. I'm just me. I am." And all of us
mhm,
just are. But I think, again, going back to what you said earlier, too, we get caught up in our titles and our job functions and whatnot, instead of just realizing that I simply am and I do a lot of things. And those things that I do, sometimes we attach those to ourselves as our identity. But our identity is not that. It's consciousness, it's emotion. Yeah, it's not what we look like and what we wear and what we do. So I appreciate that piece that you dropped, you know.
mhm,
And then you also talked about, the importance of knowledge. And I know growing up, you probably heard this too, which is when you know better, you do better,
mhm,
And so you started increasing your knowledge about how you ended up in situations that you were in at this same address with them same folk that we've been taught to look down upon, but we ain't no
mhm,
different. I tell my
mhm.
sons we put our pants on one leg at a time like everybody else. But
Yeah.
today, sis, you've been out for a minute. You've navigated through different types of traumas, harms, but you're still standing. You're a bad mofo, clearly. You know what I mean? Because you're still standing, and you're leading. You're leading in your community. So, how has your lived experience, all that you've been through, that you're going through, that you're building, that you're surviving, how did all that shape the way you lead? And how is your leadership different from, say, people who haven't lived it, people who haven't been through the struggles?
Okay. So ask that again. How is it different from those who haven't lived through those struggles?
Yeah, how is your leadership different from
Okay,
people
my
who
leadership.
haven't lived through the struggles?
Okay. So I think it's just the ability to empathize,
Mm,
right? Um, and so I think it's my empathy that's different. Like you can empathize with someone who hasn't gone through, like you can imagine,
mhm,
what it's like. But until you've been there, and I think my ability to mesh the empathy based on the lived experience with the expectations of society, because I might be empathetic, but I still hold individuals accountable
right.
for their motivation, for their effort, right? Just because we have the same lived experience does not mean that I'm going to expect less of you. If anything, I'm going to expect more, right?
Mhm,
I'm a big proponent of changing narratives,
mhm,
and writing your own narrative. So I think my leadership is different because I'm on both sides of that coin, right?
mhm.
Having lived it, but also some of the expectations of society to like pull yourself up, but I know it takes community for that, right? I think society expects that it is as easy as pull yourself up by your bootstraps,
Yeah.
and it's not.
Especially if you ain't got no boots.
It's exactly like you go- going in and coming out and
Yeah,
you bootless, right? So
yeah,
it takes community, um, who are interested in helping you build identity and dignity, not just charity, right?
mm,
No one, I don't care who you are, it's my belief that no one wants to be pitied, right? No one wants to really live being a victim. Um, it's my belief that people want to have authorship over their lives,
yeah.
right? Um,
Agency,
and
power.
Yes, yes. So that is part of my big part of my leadership,
Mhm,
sharing my story,
mhm.
when appropriate,
Right.
um, but also pushing people to want different from them from what they've had before. Because
Mm,
again, when others have expectations, or you might take on expectations that are low for yourself because you don't know, you don't have the knowledge that there
mm,
can be more, that you have the ability for greater,
yeah,
that you have the ability for different,
yeah,
right? And I love those aha moments when our participants are like, "You know what? I didn't know I was capable
yeah,
of this."
yeah, yeah,
Like, sometimes it make me cry, but sometimes, like, my smile is
yeah,
so big, like,
yeah.
yes, these are the moments that I live for.
Dig it.
Yeah.
That's something I was rapping. I can't remember recently. I was rapping with someone, and I said, it wasn't until I was in the penitentiary that I realized that I'm smart and I'm capable, and I don't have to just, settle. There's a whole lot more I can do with my life. I'm not just a nigga.
Mhm.
I'm so much
Mhm.
more. And so you saying that just, it resonates with me, sis. And when we think about people when they start to come into their own knowledge, their own understanding, their own potential. And in part, that's why I do this podcast to highlight people like you, highlight people like me, so that other people can see us and say, well, oh shit, they were down worse than me. They were face down, ass up. But look at them now. They're standing 10 toes down. They're doing their thing with
Yes.
hopeful, encouraging other people, you know.
Yes.
And second chances are hard to come by, as we know. And sometimes a first chance is hard to come by. And so for people coming out of prison, people in the community really don't understand what barriers we face, when it comes to reentry. Can you talk a little bit, maybe specifically to Charlotte and Mecklenburg County about what some of the barriers are that people coming out of prison face that people in the community really don't understand?
Yes. So the biggest barriers that I am witnessing, are, even though we have programs and organizations that provide ID, right? There is a need in North Carolina for the North Carolina real IDs, right?
Mm,
When you talk about having just a not for federal use identification or license versus a real ID, that's the difference between being able to work in a manufacturing plant as opposed to being able to work in transportation and infrastructure, and your access to higher paying employment and careers, right? Your ability to travel.
Mhm.
Even though I work in workforce development, I still encourage people that are released to Charlotte, North Carolina. Open up your mind. Get out, get away, any opportunities that you have. And sometimes that's through employment, especially with construction and things and driving, right? So having access to the identification that they need, birth certificates. So many people are transplants from other states, and it has become so hard just to get birth certificates. And historically, especially for those who are of our black and brown communities, when you're talking about being from other states, um, your family history may be unknown or incomplete, right? So I actually just reached out to dream.org, and like I want to start legislature on that bill so that while you're incarcerated, since the state or the feds are taking years of your life, um, they should be responsible for footing the bill to get your birth certificate, get your social security card, get your real ID,
Yeah,
getting rid of fines and fees associated with driver's license, not just in North Carolina, but from other states. What good is it if we have a driver's license restoration, but your fines or fees are from other states? So
yeah,
it's still
yeah.
no progress there. Housing. Oh my God. I mean, I think housing is an issue everywhere.
That's it.
Um, I wholeheartedly believe that in Charlotte, housing for those re-entering our society should not be an issue. There are so many projects, housing projects going on in Charlotte. Um, and if we have 300 units being built, why shouldn't 10% of those be set aside for those reentering, right? Like, you're still punishing folk after they've completed their sentencing,
Right.
and, housing is a big thing, being homeless. I experienced, even though it wasn't in the sense of coming straight out of, my carceral state to home, I ended up experiencing homelessness because I had a background, and it took me over a month to find housing that would accept me. So it's just like housing shouldn't be an issue. Um, I really believe that our state, our county, our city here should attach incentives or mandates to these companies coming in, building data centers and housing developments and all the things, right? That should be part of their packages. Workforce development, patching a certain percentage of positions to
Mm,
be for our returning citizens. But you have to have courage to do those things, right?
absolutely.
Um,
And folks don't
so
have
I think
courage.
that's a big part, right?
They don't have the courage to be disliked.
Right.
They wanna be liked, they wanna be able to be elected again, they don't wanna be seen as being soft on crime, they wanna be able
Mhm.
to help curb crime, but some of the things that you talked about will help curb crime, but yet they're not investing in it, like
Yep.
housing, like identification documents, helping people get that, and you and I know that when people don't have access to this stuff, it pushes them back to the other side where they might start offending again, hurting people, taking from people. When I'm sure you live in women's prison, I live in a men's prison, but I'm sure most of the people in prisons, they don't want to do the stuff that got them in prison. They like to earn an honest living. They like to have a great education. They like to live in safe housing, but
Yep.
there's this perpetual punishment. You know, we go to prison as punishment. We get to prison, we get punished. We get out of prison, we continue to be punished. And then they
Yep.
say, why don't these people, like you said earlier, pull themselves up by their bootstraps?
Right.
You know?
Right.
It's knucking futz, you know? It's
I got to
bass
use that
acting.
one.
Yeah, just make sure you give me credit when you use it.
Okay, I will.
Well, really, it's crazy, sis.
Yeah.
But hey, we're coming up near the end of our time. Um,
Okay.
But is there anything that I didn't touch on that you would like to speak to?
Um, really, I just want listeners in any way that you can not only be an advocate but get into spaces where you can learn about the effects of prison on individuals, um the barriers that are being faced even before the prison sentence, right? In community,
Yeah.
what can we do to help ensure that we are decreasing the amount of folk going to prison? If you are a legal profession, DAs, defense and prosecuting attorneys, I know you can't be soft on crime and there are laws that you have to abide by, but when we're creating laws, like there, I think in the United States they're building an additional 40 to 60 prisons. Like, yeah, so what are we doing? What's happening, right? Um, these are the things that we need to pay attention to. Also, I do want to say one thing about the Blueprint series. Yes, it's a series, but I really want this to get into the carceral systems, right? It's not a plug like, ooh, buy my book.
Mm,
These are short books, less than 75 pages,
mhm.
meant to be used, right? Able to be used by the folk that are in these prisons. So wardens and program administrators, like I urge them to look into getting these books for the people because I may not be able to change the policies and obviously the correctional staff that are in the prisons,
Mhm.
but what I can do is help prepare the individuals whose lives are going to be changed by that experience, right?
Right on.
And also mental health, um so important for our black and brown communities. Let's get rid of the stigma against mental health. I know it's been more widely accepted. The access to mental health, I want organizations to make that more widely known. Go into the communities that you say that you're there to serve, because if people are in communities where they're experiencing the trauma, but you're a platform and you're not going in those spaces, how can we address that? So I know that was a lot, but
It's a lot, but it's all pertinent and it's
yeah.
important, you know? So I appreciate you saying all those things because people need to hear that. People need to know that. And I always think about how can we stem the flow of people into prisons? Because one of the things we do know is that most of the people who are in prison are coming from deprived communities, you
Yeah.
know, isolated, marginalized
Mhm.
communities that don't have resources. And we find that one of the biggest predictors of people going to prison is their zip code. If you live in a zip code with under marginalized communities, you're more likely to get locked up or be strung out or to have mental illness issues that you cannot get over or that you struggle your whole life with. So yeah,
Yes.
we need to, and I'm saying all that to say that we need to work as a society on the front end. Most Def said the
Uh,
killing fields need blood to graze the cash cow.
ooh,
It's a number
yes,
game, but the
he
shit don't add up somehow.
wow. I need that. Yeah, you're gonna have to send me that.
Oh yeah.
And that was I felt that right here.
Mm. Look up Most
Yes.
Def mathematics. Most
Okay.
Def mathematics. Listen to the song. The song's a head knocker, but the lyrics are heavy.
Okay. I got you.
Yeah. So, sis,
So,
it was great having you. It was great
thank
seeing you
you.
again.
Thank you.
Next time you're in Raleigh, let's connect. Let's do coffee. Let's do lunch.
I
Um,
will.
something. Next time I'm in
Definitely.
Charlotte, I'll holler at you.
Reach out. Yes, definitely. And
Absolutely.
I want to put this out there too.
Yeah.
A young lady reached out to me. I hosted a workshop at last year's, no, 2024, the North Carolina Reentry Conference. I hosted a workshop centered around entrepreneurship um, as a way to reduce recidivism. So I want to continue expanding on my speaking engagements and
Mhm.
partnerships,
Mhm.
whether it's with correctional systems or universities or other organizations working in justice reform. So if anyone hears this and would like to, you know, have me come speak for you, please reach out.
Please reach out to her. She's a
Yeah.
dope speaker. And one more time, how can people reach you?
Okay, so they could reach me at 980-287-5474, or at Ross at goodportions22.com. And for the Blueprint series, you can reach me at the Blueprint at publicist.com.
Mhm. And can people find you on LinkedIn or, uh,
Oh, yes, definitely.
Instagram or
So,
anything like that?
yeah, I I post on there, but it's like so far few between. So LinkedIn, Shaheedah Ross, and Instagram is 45 Struggle Well. I'm gonna change my handle soon. And then Facebook, Shaheedah Ross.
Right on. Dig it. And
Yeah.
by the way, sister, I love the life symbols that are hanging from you.
Yes. Yes.
I have that tatted right on my arm as well.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. It's been there about
Okay.
20 years.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
love
Well,
that.
all right, beloved. You be well. It's great to see you again. Keep smiling, keep pushing, keep fighting.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank
Respect.
you.
All
It
right,
was
sis.
great speaking with you.
Likewise. I'll be in touch.
All right.
All right.
Peace.
Peace. Hey, y'all. Thanks for hanging out with me for another episode of the Prison to Promise podcast. If you or someone you know would like to share their Prison to Promise story on this platform, please hit me up at drcraigwaleed@gmail.com. I'll spell it for you. That's drcraigwaleed@gmail.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.